Imagine building the most expensive home ever created on Earth. A house rising 27 floors into the sky. A private residence worth more than $2 billion. Not a hotel, not an office tower, not a palace. A home built for just one family. And yet, ever since it was completed, people around the world have asked the same strange question. Why does the world's richest house feel less like a home and more like a symbol? Why does something designed for ultimate comfort seem almost distant, almost untouchable? Today, we are exploring the story of Antilia, a building that transformed not only Mumbai's skyline, but also the global conversation about wealth, ambition, and what success really means. Because this is not simply a story about architecture. It is a story about how far human ambition can rise and what happens when it finally reaches the top. Before understanding Antilia, we must understand the city beneath it. Mumbai is one of the most densely populated cities in the world. Every day, millions of people move through crowded streets and packed trains. Apartments are small, space is precious, and land is among the most expensive resources imaginable. In this city, square meters define opportunity. Entire families often share spaces smaller than luxury walk-in closets found elsewhere. And in the middle of this intense, urban reality, a single structure began rising higher and higher above everything around it. Not just another skyscraper, something different. A vertical private residence unlike anything the world had seen before. In a place where space itself is luxury, someone decided to build upward without limits. The man behind this vision was Mukesh Ambani, chairman of Reliance Industries, and one of the wealthiest individuals in modern history. But his story did not begin with unimaginable wealth. His father built the company from modest beginnings, slowly transforming a textile business into one of Asia's most powerful conglomerates. Growing up, Mukesh Ambani witnessed expansion as a way of thinking. Growth was not optional, it was necessary. Every success led another challenge. Every achievement demanded something larger. As Reliance expanded into energy, telecommunications, and global markets, the scale of ambition continued to grow. Eventually, ordinary symbols of success were no longer enough. When wealth reaches a certain level, people no longer for comfort, they search for permanence. Something cannot be ignored. Something leaves a mark on history. Antilia was conceived as that mark. Unlike traditional skyscrapers, Antilia does not repeat identical floors. Each level is uniquely designed. Different heights, different materials, different architectural concepts. The building draws inspiration from elements of Indian philosophy and natural symbolism, including the lotus flower and cosmic symmetry patterns found in mandalas. Rather than stacking identical spaces, architects imagined the building as a vertical ecosystem. Every section serves a different emotional and functional purpose. Inside are features that sound almost unreal. Multiple swimming pools, a private cinema, hanging gardens suspended above the city, 6 levels of parking, 3 helipads positioned at the top. There is even a snow room designed to create artificial winter inside tropical Mumbai. While the city outside faces intense heat and humidity, artificial snow can fall indoors at the press of a button. But perhaps the most important detail is not what exists inside, but how the building rises. Antilia grows upward instead of outward. In Mumbai, height represents status, visibility, and power. The higher you live, the farther you are from the noise below. The building itself becomes a metaphor for ascent. When construction finished, global attention arrived instantly. Media outlets across the world published images of the towering residence dominating the skyline. Some praised it as a masterpiece of engineering and ambition. Others criticized it as a symbol of extreme inequality. Photos showing Antilia towering above nearby neighborhoods sparked debates that spread far beyond India. Was it a celebration of success or a reminder of economic distance? For the first time, a private home became a global cultural discussion. People were not only reacting to its size or cost, they were reacting emotionally. Awe mixed discomfort, curiosity mixed with criticism. Very few buildings in history have created such divided reactions, and slowly, the conversation shifted away from architecture toward psychology. Human beings adapt quickly to improvement. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation, the tendency to return to a baseline level of satisfaction even after major positive changes. A larger home feels extraordinary at first. Then, normal. Luxury raises expectations faster than it raises happiness. Studies repeatedly show that comfort increases well-being only to a certain threshold. Beyond that point, additional luxury changes perception more than emotion. Antilia exists at the extreme edge of that idea. When nearly every imaginable comfort already exists, what remains to be desired? Privacy increases, security expands, space grows larger and larger. Yet sometimes, as environments expand, emotional warmth becomes harder to maintain. Operating the residence requires hundreds of staff members working daily, almost like a luxury hotel functioning behind the scenes. And this raises a quiet question rarely asked aloud. At what point does a house feeling like a home? Throughout history, humanity has built grand structures not only for living, but for meaning. Castles represented dominance. Palaces symbolized divine authority. Modern skyscrapers represent economic power. Antilia belongs to this long tradition. It is not architecture. It is a statement written into the skyline, a declaration that ambition has no ceiling, but every symbol, hidden layers. And as the story continues, deeper questions begin to emerge. Questions about tradition, perception, and the unseen psychological weight of living inside the world's most extraordinary home. Yet the deeper story is psychological rather than economic. Why do humans symbols at all? In his book Sapiens, Yuval Noah Harari explains that humans cooperate at massive scales because we believe in shared stories. Nations, money, status, success. These ideas exist because people collectively agree they matter. Antilia functions as a physical story, a story about possibility, a story about achievement, and perhaps also a story about limits, because once ultimate house exists, what's next? When the highest level of material comfort is reached, ambition must search for new directions. Many billionaires eventually shift focus toward legacy, philanthropy, innovation, or exploration. History, a pattern. Accumulation often comes first, meaning later. There is another fascinating detail rarely discussed. Despite its size, Antilia is designed according to principles intended to bring harmony and balance. Elements of traditional architectural philosophy influenced layout decisions, orientation, and spatial organization. The intention was not only luxury, but positive energy flow, the idea that environment shapes emotional well-being. Whether one believes in such concepts or not, the attempt reveals something deeply human. Even at extreme wealth, people still search for the same thing everyone else does: comfort. Money expands options, but it does not eliminate human needs. Over time, Antilia transformed from headline news into something quieter, a permanent symbol. Tourists photograph it, drivers toward it, residents pass it daily as part of ordinary life. The extraordinary slowly becomes familiar. And this may be the most powerful lesson hidden within its story. Humans normalize everything, the impossible, expected. Luxury becomes routine. Dreams become background scenery. Psychologists often note that happiness depends less on absolute conditions and more on comparison and adaptation, which means even the world's most expensive home cannot permanently freeze satisfaction. It simply changes the baseline. So what does Antilia ultimately represent? It is not merely excess. It is not merely success. It is a mirror reflecting modern ambition, a structure showing how far human creativity, engineering, and determination can go when limits disappear. But it also quietly asks a question back to us. If you could build anything, what would truly matter? More comfort, something less visible, time, connection, purpose. The building rises 27 floors into the sky, but its real story exists at ground level, inside the universal human search for meaning. And perhaps that is why Antilia fascinates people around the world. Not because it is unreachable, but because it forces us to examine our own definition of success. Every generation creates symbols that define its era. Castles defined feudal power, factories defined industrial progress, skyscrapers defined economic expansion. Antilia defines the age of individual wealth, a reminder that ambition can build almost anything, except perhaps satisfaction itself. Next time you see an image of the world's most expensive house, look beyond the glass walls and towering height, because the true story is not about how high it rises, but about the questions it leaves behind. What enough? What makes meaningful? And when achievement reaches its peak, what do we search for next? If you enjoyed exploring stories where architecture meets psychology and real history, consider subscribing and joining this journey, because some buildings are more than structures. They are stories waiting to be understood, and the next story might completely change how you see the world around you.